My freshman year, it was the first week of October, and I went uptown to the bars with some friends. As the night started to kind of wind down, I needed to go home, but I had always been told from my parents, don't ever walk home by yourself. I texted one of my friends to come and meet me at the bar that I was at and then walk me home to my dorm, which he obliged and came and picked me up from where I was. My partner that I was dating at the time was really worried because he hadn't heard from me in a while. And he called me and asked, where I was, what was I doing? And I said, oh, I'm walking home. I'm having my friend walk me home. And he asked who. And I kind of just remember handing the phone over and him talking to him saying, hi, I have her, she's really drunk, but I promise I'm gonna get her home safe. I'll text you from her phone when we get there. I don't really remember a lot of the walk home. I remember him really kind of helping me walk and really supporting a lot of my weight. And as we got to my dorm on East Green, as I was walking through, I remember glancing over to my side and seeing a bunch of residents sitting there. And I remember him kind of looking at me and going, all right, you have to act normal. He kind of grabbed me and just walked me along, and I wish someone had just stopped for a second and been like, she can't walk on her own, is she okay? Even if I had gotten in trouble with the RAs, I think I would have rathered someone else step in and walk me into my room than the person who actually did. I ended up kind of just passing out just from being super intoxicated, and when I woke up, the friend that I had walk me home was raping me, and it was
the conversation you're about to hear may be difficult. There's a lot of emotion involved, a lot of things a lot of horrible things are going to be spoken of tonight. And this conversation is designed to give you some idea of what happens after a rape is reported. Now, please note that this is a case study of a single incident. No two investigations are exactly the same, so keep that in mind as we proceed.
Good to see you.
Yeah, these are the scenes we were in October.
Oh, we were flipped actually.
No, you were right there.
You were right there.
Yep.
You were at the end.
It's not the way she could have.
Man, I really did block out a lot of that.
Yeah, I bet.
We can move you around that.
I woke up and I could feel someone touching me in a way that wasn't okay, it wasn't appropriate. And then I realized who had walked me home and the fact that he hadn't left, and then I started to panic, and I kind of froze for a minute until I kind of was able to unfreeze almost. I don't know how to describe it, and kind of army crawled, rolled off of my bed and tumbled over the side of it and landed on my shoulder. And when I did that is when he kind of freaked out and kind of got up really fast and ran out of my room. I was wandering around my building trying to find my RA and ended up collapsing in the stairwell crying, and she ended up finding me there and took me into her room and was sitting there and was just trying to calm me down, just trying to talk to me. She took my makeup off my face, which was all over from crying, and she ended up calling the police, and a police officer showed up and took my initial statement. And that next morning, Detective Austin called and asked if he could come and talk to me.
When a brain goes through trauma, it takes a while to kind of heal and repair. She needs some time. She needs some sleep cycles. So just a quick introduction. Hey, are you free Wednesday or Thursday? I'd love to talk with you. But on a Sunday, I don't need to bug her. What happens to memory when a person suffers trauma? Just to kind of preface a little bit of some of the weird style of questions and the process. Talk about that this is going to be difficult, or it might be difficult. If you'd like to take breaks, please, we can take breaks. If in 5 minutes you decide you're done for the day, that's fine. And just really trying to create a safe environment where she's comfortable talking to me, but it's not on my terms, it's on hers.
The long interview was a whole other experience, and as long as I live, I hope I never have to do something like that again.
So you probably already remember the plan, but we're going to play some of the audio that we used for the Start by Believing events, just so we can kind of reflect on that, see how you feel, if you have anything you want to add about them or comment on them. If you need a break at any time, you're in control, so you just tell us.
So at first, your parents were kind of trying to drive the boat?
Yeah, definitely,
decisions?
100%.
Okay, so I know before the long interview, your parents were in town and you and your parents met with Detective Austin just to kind of talk briefly about what an investigation would look like and all of that. So we have an audio clip from part of that interview where Detective Austin is kind of explaining to you after that. I think you, the parents left the room, right? And you pulled Brie aside, and that's what this audio clip is from. So we're going to play that now.
Hey, Brianna, can I talk to you for just like 30 seconds?
Yeah.
We've been focusing a lot.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody has parents, and I just want you to know that I'm happy to talk to them, but moving forward, I mean, you not telling you what to do, but you can, this is your show. Like, we're going to investigate if we have to, but as much as you want them involved or not involved, you know, I want to just let you know that that's fine with us, you know, however, wherever you want to be on that spectrum of like, I'm not telling them anything, or I'm telling them anything. Every time we talk, you update them, that doesn't matter, but I just want to let you know that, you know, I'm working for you, not them, so you're, you know, I'm going to do some things, but you're basically in charge, so that's, you get to make those calls, you know. And then, yeah, I'm still on for Wednesday, and I'll let you know if that changes and vice versa.
I remember afterwards, my mom walked out and she's like, "So what did he say to you?" And I was like, "Nothing, just, you know, making sure that we're still on for Wednesday." As I was at the hospital, I had already talked to, you know, one police officer who took my initial report, and I didn't really know where you go after that.
And I met with Brie that week to begin serving as her advocate, and went with her to the Ohio University Police Department for her long interview, and also to her interview with Ohio University's Title IX investigators to start that process as well. And I've been working with her as her advocate ever since then.
So the next audio is Detective Austin explaining the role of the advocate and about breaks, and really trying to make sure that you knew that you were in control of that interview.
Not skip important detail. So I talked with Kim a little bit yesterday just about having her in here. It's been a while since I've had an advocate here. We totally welcome you using that resource, and you know, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to come alone.
Yeah, no, we totally understand that, and I'm glad we have this partnership. My hope is that, you know, Kim can be a resource for you, but that what we're getting is from you. You know, if you're having a hard time explaining something, I'd like you to try to power through that, so things are coming from your words and, you know, your voice as opposed to being interpreted. But that being said, if you want to take a break, you want to talk to Kim, if you want to just be done for today and like finish at some point, you know, if it just becomes too much, or you're like, this sucks and I need to go home, you know, we can do it in pieces. Anything like that is fine. Bathroom break, water break, you know, whatever.
I know what's next. I don't like it.
But
The next one, I know what it is.
When we get panicked, we freeze like a bunny rabbit sometimes, or we run like a gazelle, or we fight like a lion. All of those are normal responses. But when your brain is about to die, or in that fight, flight, freeze moment, it stops caring about organizing things in good ways.
you ready? If you need to leave or stop at any time, you can.
Can you tell me about any noises you remember? Do you remember hearing anything?
I remember him like saying my name. I think he was trying to like see if I was like awake. Like I think he was trying to like wake me up. I remember him saying my name a couple times.
Okay. Can you tell me about any other noises?
I remember hearing him shift on his side next to me. Like it sounded like he was, I could hear like him moving around. I don't know what he was doing, but I could hear him moving.
Okay. Do you remember the feeling of where your hands were?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that? Doing okay?
Being back in this room and then hearing that, do you remember that part of the interview? Or is that still, you do know? Because I remember for a while that part of the interview was lost. I think we took a break right after that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was like, I wasn't even like back in the moment of me telling you that. I was like back in the moment of what was happening, what you're asking me about. It's hard listening to it on stage when I'm giving talks, but being here and hearing it all over again, like, catapulted me right back into that night.
I know we've talked about cutting that piece out of the program because it is really hard to hear. Do you want to talk about why you've decided that we should keep it?
It is important for people to hear and to understand the way that trauma can process in your brain. It's just hard every single time.
Because I know, like, you thought you were crazy and that people would think you were lying.
Yeah, no, I know.
You don't want other people to feel that way?
Yeah. Sorry,
You're okay. What can we do?
Can I go to the bathroom?
Do you know where it's at? Let me show you.
Yeah.
It's the first door on your right, down this hallway, straight out.
Oh, this way.
Can you kind of explain what the purpose of that interview was?
What that's referred to is the FETI, or Forensic Experiential Trauma Interview. And this training didn't change my mind on understanding or believing victims, but it gave me like a better understanding of why an interview might play out the way it does. If you want to think about our brains like an onion, and the outer layers are the real sequential, like who, what, where, when, why kind of memories. That's what cops are trained to ask. We show up and we ask who, what, where, when, why, because most of the time that's effective. The inner parts of our brain are more sensory driven, and under stress, under trauma, the outer layers pretty much start to fail, and to different degrees for different folks. And so we ask questions in a FETI like, what can you tell me about X, or what do you remember, as opposed to then what, then what, then what, because we recognize that a brain isn't doing that who, what kind of stuff. We get a lot more information asking feeling and memory questions as opposed to that who, what, why. And I remember I was about out of questions, but I wanted to try one of the things they taught, which was, we'll try to use sounds and sense. And then I asked about hands. Do you remember hands? And you like took a minute. I could just tell, and like something was happening. And then you said, basically like what I could tell was the worst part of the encounter. And took my notes and moved on. You needed a break. Didn't think too much of it. Then a year later, Kim calls me and says, Brie just remembered something new, and she's really worried that it's going to look like she lied or left it out. Does it hurt her credibility? Like, well, I don't know, I'll talk to her. You tell me what it was, and I'm like opening the report, scrolling through. That's on page 3. No, it's not. I just remembered this morning. No, I have it in page 3, and I remember reading it back and it was the most traumatic part. Your trauma brain flipped that puzzle piece over.
And then when I walked out, it immediately went back away.
Because your brain was
nope.
like, no, we don't need to know that. That was terrible.
My brain was it blocked it out. It was just like, you don't need to go through this again, so you're just gonna forget this until you're ready. And it took me a while, and then I kind of after really kind of connecting those dots, I was like, wow, no, he's right. Fetty really does work. That's really insane.
Yeah, that part would never have come out if I had done tell me what happened, how many drinks did you have, what were you wearing, why didn't you fight back, what else happened? But through this different technique, it emerges and then disappears.
I'm good. What happens a lot for me when I start to kind of get back into, I call it my trauma mindset. I start to do this kind of coping mechanism that I've done ever since I was little, where it's called dissociating, where you kind of pull yourself out of that moment, where the best way I've ever been able to describe it is you feel like you're in a movie where everything is going on around you and you're kind of just sitting there watching it. I've talked to other survivors who are like, yeah, I do that too. And it's a difficult coping mechanism to stop yourself from doing. It can be scary if you don't know what it is, if no one's ever explained it to you, because it kind of makes you feel like you're losing your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
That's usually why I'm like, okay, I need to stop for a second. I need to go get myself back together. I need to reconnect, and then I'm okay.
Yeah, but your brain doing that is normal.
It is.
So you knowing that and being able to take steps, and that is a solution. You're never going to kill that.
Yeah.
Because that's what everybody does. I don't know how much you two have talked about, next steps and process and stuff, but part of sexual assault trials are super shitty. There's no sugarcoating that. Because you'll be on trial as much as anything else. It's not fun. It's not designed to be that way, but the system has definitely turned it into that. Filing the report, talking with us is part of the reparative process. But my best advice is don't make this be the solution, because you could have exactly what you want to have happen in a courtroom in a year. It's not going to change what happened and how you felt and how you feel.
After my hearing with the school, I remember walking out of there and looking at Kim and being like, why don't I feel better?
Yeah.
I thought I would feel better. And I think I said almost the exact same thing walking out of the courtroom to my dad. I looked at him, I was like, I thought it would feel better.
The criminal case wrapped up in December of 2017. And so we've met here and there since then as her advocate. Sometimes we would just go grab coffee. I remember one time she emailed me and she's like, hey, can we go get coffee and not talk anything about my case, but talk about social work?
Originally, when I came into college, I was a nursing student. And after this experience, and I started working with Kim and KC and SAP's office and everything, I kind of decided that I really wanted to do something really similar to what they do. I wanted to be an advocate for people who didn't have someone to stand up for them, to, you know, that really cliche, give a voice to the voiceless. So I ended up switching my major to social work.
And so a lot of our conversations and our interaction now is, you know, helping mentor her in her goals to becoming a social worker, since she's decided that that's what she wants to do, and really just supporting her if she's out there just being a normal college student.
My scenario and, you know, the outcome that I had is definitely not the reality for a lot of survivors, and that breaks my heart. Because when people disclose to me about, you know, like a terrible experience that they've had, I feel almost guilty that, you know, parts of it were bad and parts of it were terrible, but, you know, overall I can't say that I had a bad experience working with the police. And so when someone discloses to me that they did, it breaks my heart, you know.
Had a piece of the case been different and I knew it was never going to get prosecuted, like our long interview still would have happened. It still would have been the same way. You would have had that platform, that chance to share and be heard.
My healing process has really evolved from I just have to get through this to I want to make a difference. Being able to get up here and share my story is actually a lot more healing than I thought it was going to be. Really just trying to make sure that other survivors are like not thinking that they're alone or they have no power, that they can do nothing, because me, myself, I am a survivor and I am up here and I am sharing my story and I am using my voice to tell other survivors that we can do the same.
I plan on kind of being a trauma counselor when I graduate, and really kind of just dedicating my life to making sure that, you know, this huge, enormous problem stops being as terrible as it is. And just, you know, I won't stop working until there's no new rape victim in the world.